Hello again, everybody. This is Sydney, and welcome to my reading log for September of 2025. Recording this in October, the day before Halloween. So I am going to go ahead and get started with Ashita no Joe Fighting for Tomorrow, Volume 3. This volume we had the fight between Joe and the person who he basically made his rival, and it was a lot of basically just introducing Joe into the professional boxing scene. I don't know why I don't remember a lot of stuff about this, but it was enjoyable. Ashita no Joe always takes a while to read, but all the characters were good and the writing was good so far, so I am enjoying it so much. Enjoying it so far. Next, we've got a final volume, and this is The Villainess Turns the Hourglass, Volume 8. This volume, we basically just get all the plot wrapping up. I know I said previously that it felt like everything was wrapping up, and then, oh, well, I guess it did. Let's see. Anything specifically I want to talk about in this, though? I'm not entirely sure. Like, we had a little bit of a conflict, a new lady in waiting that was trying to cause trouble. But yeah, it was a good ending to a good villainess series. Sorry for the camera shaking. I'm sure you could tell that my cat is deciding to be rambunctious and a menace while I'm recording. Okay, next up, we've got a one-shot with Farewell Daisy, a Jun Mayuzuki short story collection. This is, as it says on the box, a collection of short stories by the author of, I almost said In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, Kowloon Generic Romance, and After the Rain. And a couple of, I think one or two of these stories features trans women. I know the very first one does. It's a little bit of an odd depiction of trans women, so I'm a little on the fence about it, but it seems like it wasn't done with good intent, so that's good. But it was, the short stories were good. I enjoy Mayuzuki's writing, her characters, her art style. I think she's a great mangaka, and I look forward to reading more works of hers. Next, we have Bochi the Rock, side story Kikuri Hiroi's Heavy Drinking Diary, Volume 2. This is continuing the side story, basically just going a slice of life route with Kikuri Hiroi, who is the lead guitarist for Strong Hack, something Hack, Sick Hack. And she has a tendency to be an extreme alcoholic and an extreme mooch. She's not a great person, and I think that we're kind of supposed to laugh at her with that, like laugh at what she's doing and think maybe I shouldn't be like her, or just kind of witness it and be like, oh, of course it's her. But it's basically just her getting up to hijinks, her meeting the consequences of her own reckless actions. It's good, enjoyable. If you like Bochi, then you probably like this. All right, next we've got Snowball Earth Volume 6. This volume we finally finished up the big fights going on. They're starting to try and get to the get to the new encampment where they won't be identified by the humanoid kaiju. And of course, something else goes wrong because nothing can go well for these characters, apparently. Let's see. Actually, I might be thinking of the next volume of Snowball Earth. Oh, no. I basically just spoiled what happens at the end. They ran into some stuff that's going to stop them from getting to the place they're trying to go to again. But yeah, I enjoy Snowball Earth. Fights are cool, even if I have a hard time following the action sometimes. Next, we've got Full Night 6, and we are continuing the arc of basically the anti-implanters. I don't know what the name for it is, where they're the procedure for turning people into plants. The people who are against that trying to pin the blame on the company who made the plants as the culprits for the plant serial killer. And we have in this volume a internal force that's investigating the entirety of the manufacturing place where everybody works that is the place responsible for turning people into plants. We have conspiracies going on with some people trying to hide things. We have a plan to try and figure out, like, one side is trying to figure out if the corporation's responsible for this. The other side is trying to figure out who's responsible for it. It's a kind of cat and mouse, figuring out who is going to get to the truth first and who is going to potentially make their own truth. But it's a very enjoyable read. I'm stuttering a lot. You'll have to forgive me. Next, we have Dogs for Dead, Volume 3. We're continuing training in this volume. I think most of the volume is taking place during... No, actually, we finish up training this volume. And then we actually have the start of some of the hockey matches. Well, not so much hockey matches, but actually practicing on the rink and learning the skills of everybody. It's good, fun comedy, stupid comedy, very much Noda's specialty. Next, we've got another final volume with Fist of the North Star, Volume 18. We've got a small arc that was happening at the end, wrapping up here, and then we have basically just the characters deciding what they're going to do after the events of the story. We have a sad death near the end. I don't want to spoil who, but that pretty much just wraps up the Fist of the North Star story until the sequel eventually gets licensed, if it does. But yeah, Fist of the North Star, I've made my thoughts clear on it. I don't like the story very much at all. It has some shining moments of good story, but the story in general is not what you read this for. You read it for the action, for the characters, and for the great art. Next, we've got another series with great art, Dracula Midnight Children, Volume 5. This one let's see. Right. We kind of focus a lot more on Mina this volume as she's tapping into this spiritual connection with the guy who went into Dracula's castle. And we also focus a bit on like all I remember is the weird spiritual connection stuff between Mina and the person who went into the castle. Yes. Oh, yeah. We also did have a lot of focus on the double character of Lucy and Luke and figuring out why he has two personalities and why one only comes out at night. Show a little bit of the art here. This is unfortunately not easy to flip through because it's a hardcover. It's very rigid. So I can't really show much. It's very pretty, though. Sakamoto is a fantastic artist. Next, we have got the two Kana releases, starting with Tsukasa Hojo's City Hunter, Volume 1, and this is focusing on a guy who kind of works as a cleanup man for all the crimes and shit going on around the city. He doesn't do it out of goodwill. He does it for money, to make a living. Basically a hired hitman, hired odd job man, mostly just hitman. And he's very charismatic and extraordinarily pervy and very kind of icky with it. Like, not kind of icky, he is icky with it. It's not the best part of the series, but I enjoy it so far. I definitely see why it has a lot of the acclaim it does. A lot of the character arcs are interesting. The characters are well written. The art's decent, and the premise is pretty good. There's also a pretty damn good amount of gore, surprisingly enough. A lot more gore than I would expect. Next, we've got Cat's Eye Volume 1, also by Tsukasa Hojo. And I feel like this is the inspiration for Totally Spies, but I could be wrong. Like, tell me that doesn't read Totally Spies. I feel like somebody who created that show read or watched Cat's Eye and was like, huh, that's what we need. It's basically a story about I think they're sisters who work at a cafe where they actually go undercover at night as thieves. They steal jewels, they steal all sorts of things. I think it's mainly jewels. And we also have a cat and mouse game established in the first volume of, I would say the main sister's boyfriend, who is a cop, who she's been using to try and get information from covertly without him knowing about it. And it's basically just the story of all of their heists and all of the characters they deal with along the way. It's a great read. I think I prefer it to City Hunter just because the pervy character is not a main character. Anyways, next up we have Square Enix with The Emperor's Caretaker Volume 4. We've got, um, I really don't remember much about this volume. I remember liking it, like I do a lot of these volumes I read. Most of these series I read, I don't read just because I read because I enjoy reading them. Oh, yes, we do have a secondary love interest introduced that she's probably not going to end up getting with because she's definitely going to be with the main character or the guy here. I would say the main male lead, but the main male lead's the child, which is they already established as a no. The main male lead's basically not caretaker. I don't know these titles. Him. She's gonna end up with him for sure, but they introduce somebody else. It's like, oh, a little bit of stirring the pot, a little bit of extra beans in the rice. I don't know a saying. But yeah, it's good. I can't say much about it because I don't remember much about it. Next, we've got Happy of the End Volume 3. This is the final volume of this series by Uratsu Tanaka. We have the inevitable Yaoi falling out that happens in this volume. It does feel pretty organic, and I feel like the story warranted it. The characters made sense going through the predicaments they're going through, and it had a bit of a bittersweet ending, more bitter than sweet, especially because they left it at a little bit of a rough note. But it was another really enjoyable Tanaka work. I will stand firm on saying that all of her works I've read are great, except for Yari-chan Bitch Club, which she is most well known for. Next, we've got another final volume with the only dark horse for this month of Cat Gamer Volume 8. There's really not much to say about this series whenever I read it. It's just the cute cat antics and her being happy with the cats and also making a big life decision, including the cats, which I won't spoil because it's the end of the series. Next up, we've got Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skill, Volume 1 by Akagishi K, with original work by Rene Gucci and character design as Masa. This is a story about a guy, I don't know if I think he's a salaryman. I'm not entirely sure what his job was before, who gets reincarnated into a world with a bunch of other heroes who all have their own distinct skills. He finds out his skill is that he can buy things online, so he's not really suited out for a hero role. So he basically just ends up forming his own life, trying to be a merchant, trying to sell his wares, a little bit also just trying to cook. But in the course of trying to learn to survive, he meets this wolf who basically eats his food and decides, okay, you can be my master because I've never had anything this good. It's a very cute series, and all the furries love the wolf man. Let's see if I can get a good picture of him in here. It's not Fell, I don't think. It might be Fell, but yeah, that's the big wolf, the big lovable stupid wolf. Very fun series though. Next, we've got Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun, Volume 15, and we are finally wrapping up the festival arc and setting up for the next potential arc, which I think is actually getting past the anime, so I'm excited to read about that. Iruma-kun's always great. I definitely recommend it to any shonen fans. I don't have much to say about it because I don't want to spoil the festival arc. Next, we've got Thunder 3, Volume 6. I don't really remember too much that happens in this volume either. I just remember it involving the fight with the aliens ending with these children, at least for now, and the little girl unfortunately still not being reunited with her brothers because of circumstances, and they're still continuing their journey to get their little sister back, or for one of the characters to get his little sister back. Art's always great. I enjoy the story. It's very, very minimal for story, though. Not a lot happens. It's just a lot of art and a lot of scenes. Next, we've got Kingsmaker Volume 1 through Inklore by Haga and Kang Jiong. As volume, we've got a character who finds out that he is a prince and has basically just lived a crappy life his entire life, but ends up moving in as a prince into this king's area, palace outskirts court, sort of. He's not treated well, and he doesn't act like a king. But we have the main assistant of the king who is like guiding him along the way to make him learn how to become a king, and potentially a relationship forming between them that's not so much king subject. I enjoyed this. The art's pretty good. The premise is nice. We have some depth to both of the characters that I'm interested to explore more about in the future volumes. We got another volume 1 with The Princess I Loved in My Past Life Is Now a Middle-Aged Dad by Wasa Sagiri. A lot less serious. This is about a knight and a princess who are reincarnated in their next lives. He's reincarnated as a boy much later into the princess's life when she is middle-aged and working as a school principal, I believe. And they realize who each other are very quickly, and he is fawning completely over him, but I should say her because it's her in his body. He's fawning completely over her, but she knows she's the principal and much older than him, so she's very much trying to keep a distance. We also have other characters introduced that are also reincarnated from the same world, so it's just wacky so far. I do enjoy this. Next, we've got another one-shot by Mamita, Natsume Wants to Be Trained. This is a one-shot about a guy who basically got dumped by his ex for not being good at sex and is trying to learn how to be good at sex by enlisting the help of an escort who turns out to be his maid. And it's about a guy trying to learn how to be good at sex and also discovering his own feelings about some people along the way. Very great read. Love Mamita. Next, we've got The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today, Volume 10. A lot of cute stuff happening in this volume. Some stuff with the idol group, some stuff with the relationships, and with, you can tell Mr. Man has a guitar on here. We'll see what that ends up being. It's just a great, fun cat read. Next, we've got Volume 1 of Let Me See the Real You Senpai by Yuho Okta. And this is a series about two VTubers, one who's a lot more indie, who ends up like getting a pretty decent following, not becoming like extremely huge, and then one that's with a major firm who ends up, getting a lot of mainstream success, or a lot of mainstream for VTuber success. And he finds out that he is a big fan of him, even though he's a smaller VTuber. And they end up collabing, and some sparks start flying, and we get to see how their real personalities play off of each other and how that bleeds into the stream. And there's also a bit of smut at the end. I don't know if there's smut before the end. But yeah, it was great, and I really look forward to reading the next volume. Next, we've got Volume 10 of Last Game. This volume, we've got some family drama with the main girl and the main guy's family, because she's not a prestigious heir or anything. Her family's not really well known or anything like that, so his family doesn't really think she's worth him. But it's kind of just exploring that dynamic throughout a pretty decent chunk of the volume. At least that's what I remember from the volume. Yeah, I haven't been flipping through these like I should be. We have next Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, Volume 10. I think we're continuing in the previous time, like the flashback. Gosh, this is also not great to flip through. The art's decent. It's not the best in the world, but we also have the first kiss being stolen in this volume. We are 10 volumes in, and that's finally happening. I know there was the archery tournament in the very beginning, and a lot of this is establishing the characters between the two of them, and then at the very end we are back to the present with the conflict about somebody believing that he was cursing him, and he's the reason why he is the way he is. We get some information a pretty good amount of information about the big battle that caused this man to be disgraced. I'm wondering if I'm mixing this up with... No, that was correct. Yes. a lot of stuff happens in this volume. I don't want to spoil much of it because there are some important things that happen, but yeah. Next, we have The Eccentric Doctor of the Moonflower Kingdom, Volume 11. In this volume, we've got the main character who is acting as a court doctor because that's the only way she can get close to the. I don't know. I think she's the Empress. Yes, she's basically in disguise the entire time because she wants to. She needs to be able to treat the Empress because nobody else is able to treat her. And of course, with her station, she can't exactly just go up to the Empress and be like, oh, what's wrong? And that sort of stuff. So she ends up getting disguised and has to help diagnose what's wrong with the Empress. We get a look into the inner court, a look into everybody's opinions of each other, and some medical mystery, as usual in this series. Next, we've got a one-shot, which is Black Blood by Hayate Kiku, and this is a story about, is he a botanist? Yes, a botanist who is working on this, I don't know if it's what planet it is, but essentially a planet where there's hostile atmosphere, he can't get out much, and they have these robots that are brought in to kind of help guard the place and help keep things running well, and he ends up falling for this new robot that comes and protects him and comes. That's much later in the volume, though. But a lot of the volume spent kind of establishing the place that they're living in, establishing the hierarchy and the characters all around them. And then at the near the end is when they start realizing their feelings for each other. It's a very cute one-shot BL. I would definitely recommend it. It is explicit, though. Oh yeah, a little bit of art there. Next, we've got Senpais and a Tokonoko, Volume 2, and we've got really sad stuff happening in this volume with the main character's mother finding out that he still might have an interest in girly things, so he makes a rash decision to just abandon his girliness and stick to being a man, and that's a lot of the volume. A lot of the story in this volume is specifically that, and it gets wrapped up in this volume, but it's still really depressing, and it's a good read for sad reasons. Next up, we have Puppets That Subtract, Volume 3. I think we do meet another dog in this volume, a little pug, but these two end up going to a ryokan and end up kind of interacting with the Shiba Inu's owner, who has a crush on his brother, and we get to see their relationship a little bit form a little bit, develop a little bit more, and we also get, of course, the introduction to the new dog-man pair. We're getting a new one every volume at this rate. Great series, though. Next, we've got Nina the Starry Bride, Volume 11. We had a lot happen in this volume. I can't spoil much of it. A lot of things happened, basically turning the entire plot on its head, with her being the Star Priestess and her real role in this story. Really interesting so far, and I definitely recommend it. Next is Medalist Volume 10. We finished off the All Japan Novice Championships, and I believe we had another time skip afterwards. And then, actually, yes, yeah, we had another time skip, and then we went to a camp. Actually, I'm trying to make sure I don't. Yes. Yeah, okay. And we go to a camp where she is basically training to be able to compete in international meets because she has shown a lot of potential and she wants to pursue that route because she eventually wants to make it to the Olympics. Really great read. I love this series so far. All right, and next up we have got Shoha Shoten, Volume 8 through Shonen Sunday. In this volume, we're continuing the comedy competition. My cat chewed the corner of this, so it's a little bit messy. We have a couple more acts going on this volume, and we have, no, we don't have the main characters going on yet, but we are just basically continuing through each of these members' acts, seeing how they perform next to each other. I can't spoil too much about how each team does. A lot of the character growth was in the previous volume. A lot of this volume is focused on... Yeah, no, there was character growth in this volume, some character backstories. I think it was mostly last volume, though. Nope, yep, here it is. Okay, there is a pretty decent amount of backstory for a couple of these characters explaining their histories with each other. It's an enjoyable comedy series. I would recommend it. It's not for everybody, though. Next is Dark Gathering, Volume 15. We are continuing the massive confrontation, the massive fight with the god. That sounds wild saying out loud. And we have, yeah, a lot of this volume spent with the main two characters, or the main character and his love interest, finishing off their battles. And then the last part of the volume spent with Kako? Yayoi. With Yayoi beginning their battle against the god and all of the crazy shit that she pulls to try and win the battle. Real great. Really enjoying this arc. Next, we've got Blue Box Volume 17. We have begun summer vacation now. We have the festival. You know, the typical festival for all these romance series. Very enjoyable. They're, of course, trying to hide that they're really going out with each other because, you know, how things go in high school. Not too much to say about this volume, but I just love Blue Box in general. Next, we've got Sumiki Ogami's Not So Ordinary Life, Volume 2. I'm sure you can tell in this volume, school festival. That was like a festival. This one was like a festival for the town or something. This is an actual school festival where they're... Sports festival, that's the word I'm looking for. And we get to learn about some other hybrids in the school, learn about how they interact with each other, how their powers work, their types of personalities, how they play off Sumiki. Very fun so far, and I'm very much enjoying this. Next, we've got Komi Can't Communicate, Volume 35. This volume, we've got Komi getting extremely close to her final goal of 100 friends, but we have a lot of focus on her brother this volume, with his relationships, and also just a little bit of extra friend finding for Komi. Not too much happening in this volume, though. Next, we've got Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts, Air, White Rabbit, and the Prince of Beasts, Volume 2. This volume, we're learning a bit about the backstory of the Big Bunny Boy, I believe, right? Is that Ravi? Yeah. Yes, we learned a bit about the backstory about Ravi, and met a few other characters who basically were helping the main character learn about what's going on in the world outside of his position in the castle. We meet some interesting characters with multi-dimensional character arcs, and yeah, it's enjoyable, especially for a sequel to a good series. Next, we've got Pink and Habanero, Volume 3. We've actually got the main characters doing a cosplay cafe towards, I believe it's the end of this volume. Actually, do they do the cosplay cafe? I don't really... That's weird. Oh, I'm stupid. Cosplay cafe is where he works. That's what I was thinking at the beginning. Anyways, she is helping out with him at the cosplay cafe, and we get a lot more interaction between the two of them, so it moves their relationship along pretty well. And we get to see more of his gruff side, and of course that's a lot of his sides, but it's gruff in a good way. He's not like a mean person. But yeah, I really like it, and I always slam through it. Next, we've got Miruko-chan, Volume 11. We are we're starting a winter break, of course, with more development of the... Oh gosh, that was brutal. The tentacle crazy face girl and her interactions with Miruko and her friend. Enjoyable horror, and I do still like it very much. Next, we've got I'll Become a Villainess Who Goes Down in History. It seems turning into a highborn baddie makes the prince all the more love-struck, Volume 3. In this volume, we've got Alicia finally getting out of her training and going back to the school. And We have a bit of a falling out in this volume between her and somebody she's close to. I don't want to spoil too much. We learn why she was training. Yeah, a lot of things happen in this volume. It's really good. Next, we've got Honey Lemon Soda. We're at volume 10. And now we've got focus on another character who's acting like Uka. And it turns out she's acting like her because she wants to have the happiness that she has. So we get to see a new element introduced into the story, a new character, and learn why she was, how she feels the way she does and why she does. But a lot of the volume is focused on that, of course, with the cute art as always. Next, we've got The Dark History of the Reincarnated Villainess, Volume 13. A lot of crap happens in this volume. A lot. The underground auction's the main thing. I don't want to get too much details because this is messy to get into details for, but it was enjoyable. I'm still hesitant to say I like the series a lot. Next, we've got My Dear Friend Nokotan, Volume 6. And we actually start post-anime stuff in this volume. Right? Yeah, I think all of this is post-anime. Beginning with like a final exam battle, seeing who does the best in the final exams, and then a couple one-shots of just various stupid things happening in the school. Real fun comedy, though. Next, we've got another debut volume with The Fed Up Office Lady Wants to Serve the Villainess, Volume 1. It's a series about an office lady being reincarnated into the world of an otome game that she loves because she got laid off and then ends up dying. And once she's in this game, she's basically trying to earn Tenenbray's favor by predicting what's going to happen in the story and acting as her advisor. And basically, it's all just an excuse to be close to the villainess she loves so much. It's just another fun, cute villainess series that does seem to have, girls' love. It's definitely going to have some girls' love in there, some Yuri, some cute lesbianness. Very enjoyable. Next, we have Diary of a Female Leech in Shukuniki, Volume 4. We have finally getting actual development on the relationships happening, who she ends up with, and her realizing her true worth. Very cute series, and I very much enjoy how it's helping her realize her own beauty. Next, we've got Black Knight Parade, Volume 7. Another one I don't really want to say too much because there's a lot of stuff that happens and a lot of spoilers, but we get to learn some things about what's really going on, who these Sansas are, and some more of the backstory as we've been getting in the last few volumes. It's very good, and I definitely recommend it. Next, we've got The 100 Girlfriends Who Really, 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 Really Love You, Volume 15. We are reaching another girlfriend, I believe, in this one. Yes. Yeah. We're reaching a girlfriend with, for once, not something super pervy, but she's just really, really, really into numbers. That's a bit later in the volume, of course. Earlier in the volume, there's just hijinks, developing the characters, them doing things. Yeah, really enjoyable, stupid series. Next, we've got 100 Ghost Stories That Will Lead to My Own Death, Volume 3. Of course, this is continuing to be vignettes of horror stories that are really, really interesting with great art, interesting twists, and more development about the main character's abusive situation that he's in and what his family's doing. Of course, still vague because it's still early on, but yeah, it sucks. Lastly, we've got 2.5 Dimensional Seduction, Volume 15. And we are beginning the third year for some of these Okumura, and I think Okumura is the only one going to his third year. So we're getting some new characters interested in the manga club, and we meet a new girl who is very much a perfectionist, very much tries to do everything extremely well, but doesn't find happiness in a lot of the things she does. She's always willing to try new things to try and find a spark. So they're basically trying to help her find that spark with cosplay and with anime. Very fun, or not very fun, very interesting. I love the character. Of course, my only complaint is that I want a guy character in the cosplay club that's not the main character, but it's an ecchi series. What are you gonna do? But yeah, that was a great read, and I always love 2.5 Dimensional Seduction. But
that is everything for me this month, and I will talk to everybody next month for my haul.